This is AV SuperFriends Off the Rails, an almost regularly scheduled open discussion on audio and video in higher education. We'll sound off about our most brilliant ideas, our dumbest mistakes, and everything in between. And because this conversation will almost certainly go off the rails at some point, we'll end up covering just about everything else. And now, the AV SuperFriends. For November 8th, 2024, it's the best sounding podcast in higher ed. This is the AV SuperFriends Off the Rails number 98. 2 more to go and we're done.
That's it.
So get your requests in. 2 more.
That's all we were paid to do. That's all we're doing.
That's sad.
Broadcasting live across 4 times. Oh, wait, technically, let's see. Wait. Yeah, well, I guess technically Larry's still here.
Does it change with them to fall back?
No, I'm just because Larry's hiding. So
Yeah, well, he's here in spirit always.
he's East
3
Coast.
time
Justin's on East Coast. You're Central.
I'm with Jamie. Jamie.
Okay. Backing up. Broadcasting live across 3 time zones with a secret 4th time zone hiding downstairs. From coast to coast, not really anywhere. Damn, this screws the whole thing up. Easternmost, westernmost, northernmost, southernmost, gatepost, most of your locals can boast the most smoke doesn't up as humility. I'm Chris Dechter, and it's time for another Friday afternoon podcast adventure. There we go. That's the worst intro we've ever done. Hold on. I'm going to change this.
I have the coast. I'm taking it.
I'm going to cross this one out. 3rd worst. What, are you keeping track?
Yeah. Oh,
All right.
hell
So
yeah.
Delete this one and delete this one. Okay, so let's say hello to today's panel of august AV Super Friends. I'm joined by a national configuration producer from Kansas City. Let's say hello to Jamie Reinhardt.
I produce configs like nobody else.
I guess, yes. Also joined by a regional resonance strategist from Corvallis, Oregon. Say hello to Mark Kolowazinski.
Yeah, you can hear these different resonant tones locally, like in my room here, but you all will never hear them. So.
And joined by our Vice President for National Operations, that almost sounds like a real title, from Bowling Green, Kentucky, Justin Rexing.
That's right. Give me my damn job back right now. Stop demoting me.
So upset about that junior vice president.
This one has a lot more deliverables than the last few, though. So.
Yeah, does it, though?
So on today's show, we're going to discuss AV over IP encoders specifically, and we're also going to just one aspect of encoders. You'll understand here in a few minutes.
Yes.
We're going to discuss sunk cost fallacy in regards to repurposing AV to stuff that you already have. But first, let's do some housekeeping. So those of you listening to this in your cars later, if you're listening to this as recorded MP3, we stream live on Friday afternoons at about 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific, or whenever Mark shows up. Though today it was actually Justin running late, but usually one of us is running late, and so we can't start like at a time, but it's in that like 3:15 to 3:30-ish time frame, or 12:15, 12:30 Pacific.
We're late.
Those of you in the weird time zones, do your math.
I'm over here just catching strays.
Yes. You can join us live on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And when I remember to turn it on, which I forgot again today, we can take your calls live. So I have to start that before we start recording. So
If you want to call in, text us.
We're going to try to make that a thing.
So. Yeah.
If you can't join us live, we'd love for you to connect with us on the socials anyway. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and you can keep up with the latest updates and news and whatever nonsense we're posting there. So this week was nonstop political talk. So please join us there for our hot political
talk before
takes.
we went live. So we are ready and primed.
Please spread the word about the show. Please share this podcast with your friends, colleagues, enemies, perfect strangers, anyone else who might enjoy it. If you could hold people down at the bank and take their phone from them and subscribe them for us, that would be great.
If you're on the border with the surge of people leaving the country, have them also subscribe to the show.
We are international.
Yes, so we can get our international numbers up.
We're worldwide. And if you want to support the show, please consider donating. Your contributions help keep us bringing you the honest content that you love or that you love to hate. You can find a donation link in the show notes to this very episode or on our website right at the top or at the bottom or on the side.
Did you say honest?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you object
I'm not
to
sure
that
what show
saying?
you've been listening to, but we are nothing if not honest.
Sure.
And if you want to reach out, we'd like to hear from you if there's a topic you'd like us to cover. If you want to yell at us or if you want to tell us why Justin should be wearing pants on these recordings, even though he's sitting down, please hit us up at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com or on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, etc. So
I got shorts on.
as far as we know.
Sure you do.
Mm-hmm.
Sure you do.
Video show now. So, so thanks everyone for your support. We could not do this without you, and you are the reason why we keep doing this. No, that's not entirely true. We do it anyway. But
Damn it.
what? So, all right. So now you've waited all week for it. Here's the news.
Yeah.
And today's news comes to us from, where are we getting this news from? This is Mark's link. We got it from 9 to 5 Mac.
Jax, this came
Trusted
from you.
news
Jax
source.
gave me this link.
This came
Very
from
trusted.
Mark's Goon Squad. To be fair, I did see this story a few days earlier as it floated past on the RSS feeds. Remember those? Yeah, some of us still use them. But the headline is not the story. So the headline is
Not at all.
TV OS 18.2 adds support for 21:9 to the Apple TV. No one cares. Most importantly, though, and I guess there's probably a way we can actually share this image, can't we? How do we do that if we're clever about this?
have
Through
all kinds of stuff.
technology.
We have technology. Share tab, this, go. Didn't work. Wait. Magic.
Bang,
there we
there
are.
it is.
Note, of course, the appropriate one true aspect ratio is, can I make that bigger? Can I embiggen this?
I have to
Big
make it bigger on my end.
there you go.
There it is.
The
There-
one
there
true
it is.
aspect ratio is at the top.
DCI
21:9,
4K.
which is the pretender to the throne, is below us. There's several different versions of 21:9, but way down there at the bottom is
That
our
32
second,
number.
our second
Flanking,
favorite
yeah,
aspect
the
ratio.
two correct aspects are the top and the bottom.
32:9.
So you take 32 divided by 2 equals what? 16.
I'm pretty sure that's 16, Justin.
So that's a standard format. So that's good.
You got it.
Yes.
The future does suck. Did we say that, or did somebody else say that to
So
us?
that is our,
there's a-
commentary from live listeners. Appreciate that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's just interesting to point out that all the headlines are related to 21:9 because that is the new hotness for ultra-wide monitors. It is the wrong aspect ratio to be deploying in your spaces because none of your displays actually support it. Yes, someone's out there yelling right now because they have a video processor on their video wall that does that. Okay, fine. Your display supports that. No one else does. No, we're not buying Jupiter displays for all our classrooms. And all the projectors and displays that say they do 21:9 are simply stealing pixels from you, and you're not getting those back. So
That is actually true.
that is correct.
By the way.
yes. Ask the manufacturers; they'll tell you.
pocketing the difference.
They're keeping those pixels, and they're selling them to China. So,
They're just refurbing them, putting them other
but
projectors.
way down there at the bottom is the 32:9 with the second true aspect ratio, because as Justin pointed out, it's just the one true aspect ratio twice.
It's actually the one that I get asked about more often. Nobody really asks me about the 21:9 thing. People do ask, I want to do the ultra wide 2 16:9 images. And this is the first foray I've seen people actually like seeing this in a product that actually is out there. I'm like,
Now I know Larry has done 32:9. I've done 32:9. Has anyone else done 32:9 displays in your learning spaces?
an actual display that is 32:9.
Like
We've
one
done
single?
a display area that is like 2
Correct,
16:9.
a 32:9
side by side, yes.
canvas of some sort,
You mean a dual screen system?
potentially.
Could be one screen, but dual
Could it?
projectors
Can it?
How would you do this?
with one
Only there were
source.
technologies that would blend these things.
Here's what
and
you
make
do:
a-
you just put a DA on the back of that.
No, that's
Mac.
not the right answer.
Nope.
That doesn't work like that. Just put DA. The new DAs are the new.
So the nice thing
hotness.
about 32:9, to your point about, Jamie, you mentioned 2 screens. And we have a lot of rooms, all of us who have a lot of rooms who have just 2 projection screens or 2 big monitors at the front of the room, the old people plus content model, or I'm going to show 2 different pieces of content at once. If you crunch those together a little bit into a single unbroken 32:9 canvas, then yes, you get best of both worlds. You can spread content across both. You don't have to worry about the mullions right in the middle of your displays. So there's lots of advantages to it. But most importantly, the 2 content fields you're driving to there are true 16:9, which means all your stuff already works for that and matches all of your built-in LCD and LED displays. So there you go.
Yeah, I think that we're overlooking in this article and this announcement, the biggest part of it was that it wasn't the Apple TV. It was the fact they brought all these resolutions to the Vision goggles. So
Did they
had to
really? I
use
missed
the
that.
Apple TV too. Yeah. So in that
So,
iOS
so both of the
update-
people who own those goggles can use that.
Well, yeah, and you can now buy a new strap so that it doesn't weigh down on your head as much. I saw some big, like, what's new from the fruit stand, email or something, and with all the computers they announced. But that those were all in there, and I think that we're doing a disservice to our clients if we don't talk about the resolution of the goggles.
We love our goggles.
I think
I do
Jamie
also.
needs to stick to his fruit stands.
Hey, that's important news. Fruit stand news. I do like to point out that the aspect ratio is listed here around 21:9. It's 21:9. Right below it is 237, 239, 240 to 1. 21 by 9, if you haven't done the math, is 233 to 1. So somebody clearly, when they went through the effort to set up the scaling engine for this, they're like, screw it. They threw all the variations in there, which means as you're playing movies on your Apple TV, which does make sense, you can then set it to the appropriate aspect ratio for that film. But oddly enough, they don't support things like 185 to 1. So whatever. I don't know. It's weird.
No,
But goggles.
goggles. Yeah, moral of the story is goggles. But
You keep going off the goggles.
I know you
I don't
wanna
get
stick
it.
to this. But so I'm curious if those of you have done oddball resolutions, not the natural progression of things. Like let's pretend we did a 21 by 9.
I did one by 257,000. No one liked it.
A lot of our faculty here, they just naturally kind of think in that 16 by 9 mode. If I had a 21 by 9 screen up there, the first thing they're going to ask me is, I want this to fill the whole screen.
Yeah.
That's the very first thing they're going to ask me. They are going to be completely ignorant as to why that doesn't work, but they're going to demand that their 16 by 9 content fill that 21 by 9 screen. And here we are.
Yes.
So if their PowerPoint,
And therein lies the rub that we
so
have.
if their
to contend
PowerPoint is
with.
red, then you just get your red Sharpie out and just start coloring in the pixels on the
Don't worry,
sides.
it'll stretch.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
Go redevelop
to me,
your
that's the
content,
heart
or
of
like-
the argument right there, is that the most natural content that we already see are already in those aspect ratios we're most comfortable with. Therefore, doing two of them side by side makes the most amount of logical sense. Team
Correct.
screen share.
And the Trojan horse of when you buy direct view LCD monitors, those only come in 16 by 9. Yeah, I can get one in a wide. I get it. But
You're not building enough direct view LED walls, Chris, and wackadoo.
with custom processors behind them. Yes, exactly right. So, and the true Trojan horse for LED walls, as we have all seen now, are the 16 by 9 all-in-one units, which are fantastic. So, anyway,
which run on Android, which is even better.
which is awesome. So don't plug that shit into your network.
In the middle of
Already
32
been
by
comes
9
out of the box
all-in-one
pre-hacked. Malware is already on it.
package 32 by 9 with an Apple TV.
So anyway, a little bit of news there, just for the fun of that buried bit about the aspect ratio there. So good to see that getting a little more play, because that's the way to go if you want ultra wide displays.
And don't forget goggles.
And goggles, yes, for your goggles, because everyone needs them. All right, we'll take a quick break. Come back, talk about AV over IP encoders only. Don't care about decoders, only encoders and other stuff.
Stop fighting a tangled web of Ethernet cables and power cords to PoE injectors. Are you sick of your network switches failing to provide enough power when you need them most? Well, buckle up, folks, because we've got something that will blow your socks off. Introducing the latest innovation from the brilliant minds who couldn't quite make it in the world of audio engineering. That's right, we're talking about gain sharing PoE, the game changer in network switch technology by Independent Amalgamated. Imagine a network switch that not only delivers power over Ethernet, but also dynamically adjusts power distribution based on the needs of all the connected devices. Say goodbye to underpowered devices and hello to maximum efficiency. How does it work, you ask? Well, we've taken our expertise in microphone mixing and digital signal processing and applied it to create a revolutionary power distribution system. With gain sharing PoE, the fewer devices you have connected, the more power each device gets. It's like a power party where everyone gets VIP treatment. And get this, folks, our patented Surge Amp technology ensures that power is available to your devices at lightning speed, with just a few milliseconds of delay. It's like magic, but better. So if you're ready to take your network to the next level, look no further than our advanced managed network switch featuring gain sharing PoE. Because when it comes to power, we've got you covered. Visit our website or call now to get your hands on this cutting-edge technology before it's too late. Don't wait. Upgrade today and join the power revolution. Gain sharing PoE from Independent Amalgamated.
Sad thing is, it almost sounds real.
I stopped.
So many people you're saying you're trying to figure this out in real time. You're like, well, I get. Well, wait, what? No.
I'll be honest. I stopped listening at Surge Amp technology.
You don't like our patented Surge Amp technology, Justin? You know how much it costs to get that patent?
I lost like 20
Tens
brain
of
cells
cents
after that.
on getting that thing created.
I just can't.
Sounds like an energy drink. Surge Amp.
But you know, Justin, people are going to be, if you put that up at Infocom, people will be sitting there going like, wait, is this real or is this fake? I'm not sure. It sounds real.
Like we just create a booth.
It's close.
What if we created a booth?
You want to do a booth with all our fake products?
Independent out with all of our commercials Like how much? That's too much money.
Just set black boxes, just black metal boxes out.
We need
What's that?
We need a fundraiser
That's the
campaign.
That's the bring 'em widget.
Oh, I forgot. We're on a show right now. We're supposed to be. Okay, we're not just talking. This is what we do behind the scenes. We talk. Anyways,
You're
moving
welcome.
on.
Everybody, you're welcome.
Forward.
All right. So first topic for today. We don't have a news story or anything associated with it or a particular product, but we've noticed.
is.
Well, there's been a recent rash of products. Let's say.
Yes.
We've noticed a large number of products coming out. Or certain there's a handful of them anyway. For AV over IP specifically, and the advantage is, as I think we'd all understand with AV over IP, is like pretty much infinite flexibility. That's really what you're getting there is infinite flexibility over more baseband technologies like routers and matrices.
Virtual infinite. Virtually.
Just get a
infinite.
gain sharing PoE switch and you can go as big as you want. So
Those
out so
surge
bad.
power amps.
Yeah.
but anyway, we've noticed several manufacturers, many manufacturers, a lot of manufacturers, every manufacturer
All of them.
who has they're basically going back to the kind of an old school model of a multi-input encoder. So 4, 5, 6 inputs on an AV over IP encoder. And yes, some of them can generate 2 streams at 1080p or 1 at 4K, or some can. I know there's some out there on higher capacity networks can do 4 streams, that sort of thing. So yes, there's some more flexibility there, but they're going back to the old model of a big switcher box at the front end that you plug all your sources into, which kind of defeats the purpose of AV over IP.
That's
so
what I
if you're doing
Fight,
Here we
you
go. This is
are.
going to be this is a bit of a trial here, I think, and I wanted to kick this off because I'm guilty for like wedging this in here in this conversation because I'm going to bring up the term kit-o parts here, and that does this throw a wrench into that kind of equation where I'm trying to
No.
find a very granular thing that I can do and pull from that kit all over the place and use. Now, yes, I could buy whatever the new NVX flavor of the month multi-switching encoder that just announced over AV over IP week, but it starts to feel like I'm throwing a giant switcher and just replacing HD base T with AV over IP.
And why wouldn't you be designing it as HD base T then? Especially like what design needs multiple encoders that have 5 to 6 inputs at every location?
Right.
If you're doing
best
a
designs.
classroom and you need multiple inputs and
You know
one
who
output,
wants that?
go to HD base T.
An integrator somewhere who's paid by the percentage of their sales.
Exactly.
That's who
so
wants
the,
that.
the box.
So Justin,
with-
as an integrator who's paid by the percentage of your sales.
Yeah, explain to me. Why do I need this? Sell it to me.
No, I won't sell it to you. I don't do sales. I don't have salespeople. We only specify what the client needs.
We just
Shop.
specify stuff and then collect later.
Are you
Yeah.
saying
Pay up.
nothing you give is on sale? Is that what you're saying? You're paying premium for
You
all
pay
this
full
stuff?
price.
Yeah.
Okay.
MSRP is our
MSRP
is our
is the way to
motto.
go.
That's your discount.
That's your discount.
Plus
you.
points.
Yeah.
Yeah, bless.
We're gonna get a point system. You collect points, we'll give you a discount next time.
So am I? I know.
We're like Kellogg's cereal boxes.
Rip the tops off those bad boys.
Rip the tops
Trade 'em all
off,
in,
hold on to them. We'll give you a discount in 2032.
trade 'em in.
Been saving these for 30
Yeah,
years.
man.
So
When my whole
Almost got
business
enough for the
is
leather
in
jacket.
based in the Cayman Islands by then.
am I wrong with that philosophy of like one eye per device in that granular review over IP world?
No,
I mean,
I wouldn't
I'm
say
not-
black and white. Like I can
okay,
see
okay.
sometimes needing a 2-input AV over IP encoder, possibly, maybe. But normally, when you're designing AV over IP, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. That would make a lot of sense because if I have multiple sources in one location, I'm probably going to put something else there and then maybe encode that to an AV over IP anyway. Because going back to your standard kit of parts, we've had old switchers that we've used in the past that we're used to. Let's just get 2 separate boxes instead of one box
Right,
that does
wasn't
everything.
That kind of like the dream that this was all sold under at one point. And I'm
What
not saying
dream?
I'm not saying you don't have 3 or 4 sources in your lectern, podium, whatever it is, and maybe it is easier to have one wire going there. That's not my argument. That if I'm going for like simple kit that I can be the most flexible and construct the most amount of useful spaces and have spares that are easy to swap and not be wasting extra inputs, isn't the full granular approach better? Like I don't know. I'm kind of throwing it on trial. Like convince me that that's not the way to go here.
If you're asking me, if I have to buy a new box, then it's not my standard kit of parts. It's something new. And now I've expanded my kit of parts. So what
Now
the hell are
it's
you
part of
doing?
your standard.
Now you have level
We've expanded.
7.57.
Yeah. Exactly.
And now you're Mark in Oregon.
So Larry brings up a point. He
We are,
says he was so excited about it, he couldn't let go of the shift key fast enough.
Okay.
He says,
okay.
what about in active learning rooms where I guess presumably he's talking about you have multiple students at each pod station, whatever, so you could provide them the ability to all connect, and yet you're still
That's
only
fine.
sending that one stream back. I guess I would ask, why do they all
switcher?
need to plug into the system, though? You can only
That's
send
why.
one stream, so here's one cable.
Exactly.
Get rid of those cables.
And if you have to do that, put a 4-input switcher there.
Now you're
and then
making it
put
worse.
No.
If you have to,
Don't need that.
Yeah,
I agree. You don't need that.
Don't
but,
need it to begin with, and you're better off.
No, I don't.
So,
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
That's
Does-
one of my
is it-
that's one
is
of
it
my
in-
shopping requirements.
For what?
What, not needing things?
Multi input.
you want
how-
I know,
how
I know.
many?
I want at
Units.
least 2.
Okay.
I want at least 2.
I'm
So
not going to
why?
argue too. Like
yeah,
when you
what's-
start
what's-
hitting 3, 4, 5, now you're starting to get a little crazy.
So
Where's,
Well,
where's
I
the,
think
where's the
it-
slope start? Is it 2 and then,
3.
now we got 27?
3 is the
that-
credit, and it starts to go down after 3.
I think 3 is the logical point, but
Okay.
I don't see a reason to have the streaming of unused
So I'm
devices.
going to call it
I
out
don't-
just for
I
what it
don't
is. The
need that.
I mean,
NVX
you want to say
Three-
bandwidth?
384, that 4x1 AV over IP switcher,
What?
and all that stuff, like that new one. This is the one that made me think about this, right? The 2 USB-Cs,
that
the 2
POS?
HDMIs, that whole
PoE,
thing.
Jamie. It's pronounced PoE.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, my bad.
And yes, arguably, maybe this could be like the one thing, but then I look at the price on it, I'm like, it's the same price of buying all those encoders anyway. So I'm not,
Yeah.
you're not saving
Exactly.
anything.
And for me, I looked at it like I was already kind of pre-switching when I was using my previous version of AV over IP encoders and decoders, in order, one, to save bandwidth, and two, because I didn't need to overspend on that. It was cheaper to buy a pre-switch and then go into one encoder. Now, the Visionary one, the Duet, that has essentially 3 in, 1 loop out, and 1 stream out. Perfect.
Okay.
That takes over
It's a
most
good
every
price point.
but I'm
podium.
not going to buy that for every one of my AV over IP encoding solutions.
But
Oh,
the
yes,
price
you
on
will.
it.
Oh, yes, you will.
Today, yeah.
So the price on it really.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
That was very affordable.
To me, it's at that 700. I don't know what people get, right? But it's in that ballpark where, yes, it is absolutely the price that I can just put it anywhere, and I just know it's going to work, and it's going to fulfill all of my needs wherever I put this thing. And
I think
it performs well. So I
My-
really
see-
like that. I don't like one-to-ones because
my perspective here is the data aggregation perspective on this, right? So the reporting out to your central service, I like seeing endpoint for input, right? Whereas if you start saying, oh, well, programmatically, this box is technically my computer and my dot camera, or whatever your combination is going to be, now your data starts to look weird.
Pause.
Go ahead.
Who is putting dot cams on AV over IP inputs?
Who isn't putting dock cams and AV over IP inputs?
Rephrase that question, Justin.
Why are you choosing to use a dot cam as an input to your system instead of running that son of a
you're going to
bitch via USB?
I got you. Okay, so
What are you doing?
That's Larry, and he's going to come fight you.
he's gonna take a throat lozenge, just pour honey down his
screaming here. Yeah.
gullet just so that he has enough vocal cord to come and yell at you. It's gonna go.
So Larry will tell you, to your point, Justin, and Larry will tell you that running a baseband output from your document camera gives you the ability to route that signal anywhere for high quality capture and recording and all that fun
It's on my
stuff.
computer. I could do the same thing.
I agree with you, but there's
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
The output on my computer is an AV over IP.
Refer to the show we did a while ago where we said all you need is a computer. I'm still in that camp, so don't get me wrong. One encoder is all you need. Figure it out from there. And so, but the encoder does not have 4 inputs on it. So that's my answer here. But going back to the data thing, when I look at a room holistically as my status, I want to see all the associated things as all the group of endpoints on there. And so if I'm having to mix and match for usage and all that stuff, now I'm having to be more programmatically tied to that data aggregation than just the device itself and getting its native data out of it. That's kind of why we're
if you
leaning
want,
towards
if you
that
want
granular
fancy
approach.
Power BI dashboards, then having
Yes.
a one-to-one is easier to track. Yes,
Correct.
absolutely.
That's my sole kind of
Otherwise, then
approach
you got to dig into the actual control system program to determine. Well, it was on input 3 on the stream, and then it switched in back to input 2, which is the dock cam.
Oh my God, Chris! I'm
So
about to
we're
answer
gonna-
your question on chat. This is ridiculous. Hold on, watch
gonna-
this.
I just it's a
That's
return on
That's why we have a
investment thing
chat,
for me.
Justin.
I don't.
Holy crap, that's pricey.
that's bullshit.
What?
What?
You got to say it, explain it to people like people know.
We're talking how much the multi-encoder dually boopers are.
Yes,
Now-
that's why
That's
I said.
why I don't
that's
use
the price
them.
of 4 encoders.
Like what?
Now
I
you've
don't
discovered
need
how
4
they priced
inputs.
it.
That I just don't need that. I know I don't design systems
And-
that way.
See, and that's the thing is like if I have to buy an encoder for every one of my inputs, and we're going to be conservative here, and they're at $500 each, right? That's $2,000 for a set of. We'll go $1,500 for a set of 3, or I can get for less than $1,000 one encoder that has 3 on the front end, and I'm mostly good. Now.
For cheaper, you can get 2 separate boxes, a basic HDMI switch, and
Holy
a
crap.
single AV over IP encoder for less money even than the combined box.
There is that, and I don't. Yeah, look,
Yeah.
bandwidth conservation and
We don't need to
financial
conserve anything anymore.
conservation
We're past that in our lives. Come on.
is
I have
is
unlimited
more
bandwidth.
important than the one-to-one data dashboard because I don't care. Quite frankly,
Well, you've sold me. That's a
I just
that's a
don't
cogent
care.
argument, Jamie.
How many times have you press this button? Not enough to warrant having the document camera having its own encoder.
Well, and so we are going to do on a future show. We are going to dive into the how useful are these central aggregator consoles and all this
Yes,
nonsense. Stuff,
and
so.
I think you need to have an approach and jump in and kind of stick.
or
to your
you
story there.
don't.
Or you don't, or just don't
have
do
an
it.
approach. You just
You
don't
just
do it.
shave those buttons right off. You're good to go.
Fight.
But kind of looking at it, there's a service piece to this too. To me, like, yes, you're going to be doing programming and things like, but if one fails, it's the simple one replacement versus having to replace the bigger one, reprogram and all that other stuff. So to me, like getting as granular as we can, and just having that kit, I can reconstitute and build lots of different places on more of a simple solution versus having to have all these different encoders, decoders out on the shelf to choose from. And don't get me wrong, I like all the things and having all the options, but at a certain point, stocking and keeping all that isn't the dream of a simplified world, or are we going to go just replacing
Your world's too
HDBaseT?
simple.
Here's my other like long-term support kit of box parts, whatever the hell you want to call it. So
random
what
box of
happens
shit.
when these manufacturers stop making this product because nobody's buying it anymore? It's not profitable, and they go back to a one-to-one only. And then let's say somebody like Jamie or whoever has bought 500 of these in 500 classrooms. Now you're like, what are you going to do?
You got to throw them away.
This goes back to, but yes.
Right,
This goes
so now
back
you're
to my return
screwed.
on investment thing, right? So
Right.
I only buy this one, right? So I over purchase on this one. I'm using Visionary right now, and I go ahead and buy the Duet model because it gives me all of it for a decent price, and it
What if
can
they
go
stop-
anywhere. If I need it in a 1-to-1, or if I need it in a 3-to-1,
You're okay using
it just goes in.
Yeah.
And it just goes in. And if Visionary stops making them in 2 years, or the codecs get better from somebody else and it's
Next
cheaper
one
to
up.
do it,
Right.
next one up. It's
Right.
all AV over IP. I just unclick one black box and click in the next one, which is why it's important that we start moving towards a standard. Except we never will, because all of these stupid ass companies out there have to create their own version of a codec. Yes, I'm looking at you who just released the freaking one Mark's yelling about.
yeah, right. Yeah,
Because it doesn't
more to
work
come
with
on that
anybody
company
else's.
soon.
Jamie, they all have to have a proprietary codec because otherwise you could just plug them in. It's Wild Wild West. Who's watching that? Cats and dogs living together. It's mass hysteria.
But I'm also looking at the labor on this. For 500 rooms to swap out a 3-input AV
why are we
over IP
swapping out?
encoder to a 1-to-1, there's a lot of labor and work to do that. It's not just
you're not
buying
wrong.
a different box.
I'm curious. What's this concern about having to swap stuff out?
I've seen over and over again over the years, manufacturers make a box and stop making it after a year. So
Yeah.
let's say Visionary stops making the 2-input one,
Why would I
starts
remove
making
it?
a 4-input because it
Have to,
died,
Chris.
and now you have to replace it. Then they don't
They
make
sent
one,
out the
so
new
it's an
firmware that killed
RMA.
it. It's done.
But if it dies and I have to replace it, I'm not replacing 500 of them.
you replace the one.
Well, you eventually will because they're all going to die.
Oh, so you have a bunch of immersive boxes. Yeah, those die all at once.
So, that's what I'm saying. This shit ain't lasting forever, y'all. I mean, you got to fix it at some point.
It only has to last 15
Unless
years.
your name's Chris, that just hops around a lot.
Come see all my quick media rooms. Still chugging
Right.
along.
So, but let's go to the other side of this thing.
No, I'm kidding. Down to like one of them.
This 4x1 version, right? Is it like? Would you build around this?
We don't have replacement cycles, Larry.
Yeah.
Not everybody
So what's
has
the value of
replacement
this? Like
cycles.
to me, this looks like a miniature DMPS in a weird way.
So here's where I think there's
Yes,
some value to
that's
this.
what
And
it
Jamie
is.
brought it up a minute ago. Is like the limited cabling, limited bandwidth. I see something like this having value, having practical value in retrofit scenarios. I'm putting something into a room that already exists, and it's only got 2 cables run to that location. I can put this box in and get 3 or 4 inputs on it, but the other ones I have to put 2.
Smell like
Or I can just
Totally
use
does.
HD base T.
Or you
And
can
I
use
don't have
HD base T.
I don't have to do anything.
Or I'll use the same frickin' shielded Cat5e cables that ran HD base T and are running on this one because I don't care. So,
just put it in transmit receive mode and be done, and just
It works.
say, "Hey, I got AV over IP."
so.
well,
Walk off. Give me the badge.
That's not AV over IP though. That's
But how am I going to say I'm all AV over IP because that's the future
CIO said
unless
we
I
had
have
to.
this box? So no, you're not wrong. I mean, HD base T still has a place and still has a huge place in a lot of what we do. There is a fundamental concept that a lot of people have that they have to stop using HD base T because it's old and AV over IP is the future, and that's absolutely wrong. Keep doing your HD base T stuff; it works fine.
I would rather do HD base T when I can, when it makes sense, because I don't have another box at the projector in my standard classroom.
Until you get the weird HD base T
Agreed.
ones that don't want to play well with the projectors.
Well, I don't buy those.
There's the
Well, there's that.
Well, you
so.
should, because that's where the mystery comes in.
Jamie, you have fun with that monoprice stuff.
Now, in that version that we saw, and that Aaron's kind of responding, like it's that response. Yes, the USB piece of this had a little bit of extra in it. It wasn't just the video or just the AV piece. They are claiming that data backend piece, which I think was actually part of the story, but that's not really in their sales pitch as much. Because I am interested in that. The full USB-C as
Jamie's going to tell you
and
visionary
data.
years ago. So.
We've talked about it before. Like, I want that elusive data set to bring all those other pieces back as well.
When you, so
Agreed.
you're talking about the USB data, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, better. I'll just say I am pleased to see more encoders, decoders, whatever out there with USB-C, true USB-C DisplayPort alt mode. Some with multi-stream transport, some without. Because that's the only one we should be porting. And anybody else who has devices that doesn't do DisplayPort alt mode, they should be punched in the face and thrown in the river, and then also throw their computer after them. I'm getting
all
sick
their
and tired of the DisplayPort one or the USB-C where they come in and like, look, it's got USB-C. I'm like, oh yeah, which of the 7 flavors? And now I have to deal with that crap. So
It's power only.
Yeah, this is power only USB.
You can only
There's
charge
some of
your
that too.
iPhone.
this is
There's a
yeah,
lot
this
of
is
only
only
charge
for
your iPhone.
30-watt charging and USB 2.0 data. You figure it out.
Yeah.
Right.
It's too much
Plus,
of that
plus,
nonsense out
plus. Need all of it. So, but I don't know. Like, it just felt like we were going back to like. Here's
Let
your
me
big
ask this
switcher and
question.
rack again.
Just going to throw this one out there.
Throw it out there.
So these devices that have multiple inputs like this, why aren't all the inputs USB-C DisplayPort alt mode?
Because where's Justin going to put his dock camera?
It's just too much.
I guarantee somebody during some sort of product development meeting said, "Well, I've got Blu-ray player." That person should have been thrown in the
You
river.
don't.
So
No, you don't.
strap that person to a small rocket and fire them out into space. Because you can convert down easily with a super cheap adapter to go from
then you
USB-C.
got adapters. I don't know.
Okay, what's the alternative? I've got HDMI in, which can't be, there are ways to do it, but cannot be easily converted up to DisplayPort alt mode. So I'm just saying, why not roll down? So
Yes. It's there's a lot of stuff out there with HDMI on it still.
I still think, back to the first question, and then I just saw the pricing on that dude. I'm like, holy crap. I can get 2 of the other ones.
Exactly.
There you go.
I see there's a lot, to me,
2.5 of
there
the other
is,
ones on my pricing.
there is a lot of use for this, especially in places where you have to pay per data jack, where you may only have one lectern of equipment. And so you might have 2 or 3 displays around the room, and it's showing the same thing everywhere. Because HD base T now becomes a problem in that point. Fine, there's some use for this. I don't think it doesn't fit into the standard kit of parts. Like, I tried to find 1, 2 or 3 inputs, standard kit of parts. Let's go. It fits almost everywhere I need it to go.
Right there. I'm with you, Joe. I'm on
No,
team no wires.
no. I'm going to take it
I'm
one
on
step
team
further.
no
Joe
wire.
is halfway right. So Joe just said, why not go wireless? Don't worry about wired connections.
Oh my
No
god.
appliance, though. No appliance.
Half correct.
Yeah.
Go to session, not
Yes.
wireless. So
Yeah, we're not doing. We're full on
Correct.
here.
We're not buying
of
the
all those
wireless
wires.
boxes. They're trash.
go to
Garbage.
session, which is what he's getting at is start a Zoom call, Teams call, Google call, whatever.
Whatever it
Join
is.
that. So yeah. Aaron, you're right. You get a high quality 15 frames per second experience, but no one cares.
I like 120 hertz on my meetings.
It's like all the people who need 444 on their systems. Yeah, that's what I mean. So
Wait, you don't?
It's the best.
we all
Anyways,
need HDR for our displays. It's 6 years old. Doesn't do that. So anyway, who cares? So.
we have to have it. This PowerPoint.
But anyway, Jamie, you're right. There are places where this makes sense. It doesn't. It's not. If in Mark's dream world of everything is the same, and he's got the same model, even decoder encoder that can be switched at a reboot, so we don't have to worry about that. I get where you're coming from, but in retrofit spaces where bandwidth or where the data costs, or you're putting in stuff, and I need 3 things at this end, I only need 1 cable because it's not mission critical or whatever. There are use cases for this.
The real question is this particular unit from them actually communicate with the receivers that they have, or do you have to buy a different special receiver just
get a
for
new
this?
Oh, a manager of managers.
You know, is this like NVX Lite and NVX Plus? Is it
I think
the Plus
it's
version?
I think it's just switching on the front end of the stream.
5K.
I'm just being a jackass. Is what I'm really being.
I don't put it past them, but
No, it shouldn't work the same way. It should be intercompatible.
Yeah, but I think really my biggest hang up is that you can't intermix these things.
is it
That's
still
what
only
I'm saying.
outputting 1 stream though?
I didn't catch that, but if it's 2, it's going to be 1080. You know.
Yeah. Who's doing more than 1080 and why? And here's the one person yelling at their car stereo again.
I'm doing 5K because the box can do it. It says it right there.
I set all the EDITs to the top of the bar.
Because by
Also,
gosh,
I have trouble connecting my Mac.
I get a gigabit to this desk thing. I'm going to take 890 megs of it right away.
The saddest part of this box is it can also be a decoder. So God help you, whoever the hell is buying this as a decoder and using it just as a decoder.
If
It
you do it in,
supports-
wait.
HDR 10 plus.
In
That's
in
important.
decode mode, does it also work for local switching then?
Yeah,
Is that
it'll
what
do a
they mean?
4x1 with a switch. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
okay.
fine.
Yeah.
I get what
It's
they're doing.
still way too much money.
There are use cases, and there's someone yelling at their car right now. But,
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a fancy Swiss Army knife of sort, but I just don't know where it fits in my kit.
Yeah, I will not be purchasing one.
Now, to Jamie's point, there's other manufacturers who make things like this. I have a handful of the ones he's talking about from Visionary, the 3x1s. They're great. The delta on cost from a 3x1 to a 1x1 is less than $100 for me, so whoop-de-kip. The close to 100 control processors I have out there from QSys are all 3x2 with dual encode on the outside, so I can get a lot of flexibility on that. I don't use it that way, but the flexibility's there. It's also doing a lot of other stuff too. So in that sense, the more expensive box is doing way more than just sitting there as an encoder or decoder, but the capability's there. So I think there's a lot of capability for things like this, and I can't remember who just said it a minute ago, but like the Swiss Army knife approach is really what we're looking at here. This is another thing to have in your back pocket, in your arsenal for those oddball scenarios. It may not go into every room, it may not go behind every display, but there are times when you say, oh, glad I have this because we're doing this in the such and such room and there's only 2 data pulled to that location and I can plug this in and get it done and everybody's happy. Or just
I
an
have
HD-based
yet to have that happen to me.
Ever?
I need
You
to
guys have
design
data
more
everywhere?
AV. No, I guess I do logic. I don't.
Have you ever had this
know.
system like long ago where you're like, I'm going to put this in because they're going to expand into it one day? Have you ever had like it's going to give them room for growth? Have you ever
Oh,
had
I did that to a whole building.
Like
I did that to a whole
philosophy?
building.
Yeah.
I wanted to murder the past Justin for doing that.
Right, because that's how like the DMPSs of the world when they roamed the earth long
Exactly,
ago,
that
that's how they
reminds
came
me
to
of
be,
that.
right? They're gonna they can add extra inputs when they get there. It's like, how many fucking inputs are we adding here? What's going on? Like,
As a designer, and I've proven this to be true over the course of multiple systems, the more boxes you have in a system to complete it, the cheaper it is. The less boxes you have in a system, the more expensive it is.
Your metric of boxes confuses me.
Try it out.
try
For you
that.
designers out there, keep track of how many boxes and how many power plugs you have and how cheap it is. Breaking things out. I know, Larry.
What's the top number you've done?
We just went through this as an example. It is cheaper for me to buy an HDMI switch that's 4x1 or 3x1 and put a 1-to-1 encoder on it than it is to buy that son of a bitch.
And yes,
It's way cheaper. So it's 2 boxes is cheaper than 1 box.
and in my rough math, I would tend to agree. 'Cause
It's
when you
the
start getting
opposite.
down to the all-in-one boxes,
Exactly.
the all-in-wonders, you are paying a premium for it to
Design
do
your
everything.
Design your systems to only do what it needs to do, and it's going to be more boxes, but it's cheaper. And then you buy these all-in-wonder kits that are thousands of dollars. You have 1 or 2 boxes that run your back-end system, but it's more expensive and,
Isn't there
whatever.
some like
But
overall
they can
gestalt
grow
where the
into
sum
it,
is greater
guys.
than the
They can
whole of
get
the parts?
more. Yes.
Depends on your scalability and how many classrooms and systems you have on campus, and it gets into that concept. So
But Justin, also the all-in-one boxes, especially the 4RU all-in-wonder monstrosities, that cost way more, so it must be
we
better.
can't. Well, that's the thing is we can't
It's got a DSP
afford
on it.
those. Yeah, our departments
They
can't.
don't
afford
have a
that stuff.
DSP. Not a single one of them has a DSP on it. They all
Yeah,
have
yeah.
a baby's first mixer.
Yes, the cost of labor. Remember that first module for those programming that massive ass long run-on module? How fun was that to program?
This needs 2.5 minutes to boot up. So update your firmware and then go to lunch and then come back and then it should be rebooting. It's
great.
Yeah.
2.5 minutes. That's fast. Come
was just
enjoy my
making up
come enjoy
number.
my low power Juniper switches that are 7 minutes before they fire PoE to everything.
Are you 7 minutes? You exaggerating or is it?
No.
So,
It is those things. The low power Juniper
oh,
switches.
the low power
Because they don't have any
yeah.
fans, so they have low power processors. It's like a 7-minute boot
Slow
cycle,
ramp.
and if you have stuff on the backside that's PoE powered, then those boot up. So
That's like a third of a class.
which is exactly what people say when I have an ancient campus full of nonsense, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Yes, if I reboot this, I know it's going to fix it, but I
It'll
lose
be
15
on by the
minutes of my
next
class."
Yeah.
And they, I get it.
Come
I'm like,
back.
dude, I didn't spec any of those, but anyway,
did.
all sorts of non. Yes, I spec a lot of Junipers from 2013. Great.
So, Mark, did we
No, I
solve
think
your
that
dilemma?
I think people are leaning one way or the other about like the validity.
I
of
think
these
we
types
got
of
people
things.
thinking about it.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole the thought exercise here, right? And so, as to why I think the granular approach is best, but I mean, we could do a whole on trial about this, but I just wanted to get the pulse of the group here on what we've felt about these types of.
HD based teasing answer.
But anyway, Chris,
I think it's a slippery slope if we start seeing this from more and more manufacturers. If they start focusing all their energies on basically a mini all-in-wonder box, I think they're going the wrong way.
I'm not buying
That's the
that.
wrong approach. Yeah.
speaking of weird things you have on your campus, Chris.
Yes, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about what we call like sunk cost fallacy with regards to free stuff. And what's it cost to actually try to use that free stuff that was never really installed in the first
Oh,
place? Installed correctly in
that's-
the first place. So
Okay.
Here we go.
yeah, you guys are going to love this one. So let's take a quick break, come back. In the meantime, we're going to hear from our own new endeavor of coming to your campus and ruining your systems for you.
Hey, you! Yeah, you with the weird AV issues that need fixing. Listen up, because this is the last time I'm gonna say it. Are you tired of your electronics acting like they were put together by a bunch of monkeys with soldering irons? Well, guess what? You're in luck, pal. Introducing independent amalgamated AV integrations, where we barely meet industry standards and still manage to stay in business. Look, we know you have a choice when it comes to who handles your AV, but let's be real here. Are you really gonna trust some slick-talking, overpriced company with your precious gadgets? I didn't think so. At Independent Amalgamated AV Integrations, we promise to half-heartedly install your stuff with just enough competence to not get sued. And if you're lucky, it might even work for a little while. So, if you're ready to settle for mediocrity and save a few bucks in the process, give us a call at 555-GET-OK or visit independentamalgamated.com. And remember, at Independent Amalgamated AV Integrations, we're just good enough to not completely ruin your day. Maybe.
They'll spec all sorts of multi-input.
They're doing good
AV
work over
encoders.
there.
I didn't think we were taking money from integrators.
We're trying to
like
take
that,
money
That should be a
as
real
much from
integration.
Justin, our parent company, Independent Amalgamated, has many like fingers in many pies.
We have lots of dollars.
Well diversified portfolio of
This is a multi-dollar operation.
Multi-dollar operation.
All right. So for this topic, and it's somewhat prescient that Jamie, I think you're the one who mentioned the idea of no, it was just to talk about overbuilding older systems to allow for future expansion. So it's a great thing we have all these DMPSs out here with the ability to have lots of additional space.
Yes. We're going to use those inputs one day, Chris.
So let me tell you how those inputs got used. So during the nonsense a few years ago when everyone got free money from the government and many schools just kept buying the stuff they were buying previously and just did more of what they already did. And so there was no problems and everybody was happy. And yes, there were supply chain issues and all that. But for the most part, your stable of common kit of parts is, with a few slight variations here and there, pretty much the same. Other people bought what they could find at the time or just kind of bought the first thing that showed up on Amazon or CDW or B&H or wherever they were buying from. Some schools just called their local integrator and said, we don't know what we need, so come fix all this. And they bought
And
a new
by
yacht.
some schools, do you mean yours?
And so my school took the yacht approach, and I got close to 100 plus rooms that got cameras and microphones and all that good stuff, and that was fine. And we were hybrid enabled, and everyone was able to keep on teaching, and we're all happy. Here's the challenge. So all of these rooms got updated. They all got COVID enabled or hybrid enabled teaching for COVID stuff.
Fueled classrooms.
But they added cameras and microphones. That was kind of the mantra. Add hybrid capability, cameras and mics. They didn't touch any of the underlying stuff. So that 6-year-old AV system is now a 10-year-old AV system, that sort of thing. So what was in there was just left there. In places where they couldn't even physically fit it in there, they had to kind of put like a little pony rack on the side. So it's
Sidecar.
Yeah, it's just a little sidecar there with a different key. That's fun.
Still kept that 16 by 16. You had two 16 by 16s now.
Yeah, so they just added another chassis right next to it, linked those together. So because that's just for the 17th input, but why buy anything less than a 16 by 16? Yeah. But here's the challenge we're running into. These rooms almost 4 years on, are in need of refresh. But the cameras and microphones are only 3 or 4 years old. So why don't we just repurpose those? Well, that sounds great. Until you start getting into this challenge of, is it worth really trying to repurpose these when A, they don't fit how we do rooms now. So it's not, even if we rebuild the whole system but use that camera, it's a different model. It's not connected the same way, et cetera. And then that means we're going to need to make modifications and now have another slightly modified standard for, yes, that's a standard room with the following 27 changes on it because it's now different to support reusing those cameras and microphones, which are only, again, 3 years old, but the underlying system is 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, so it's got to go.
Right.
Here's the fun part. Like I said, I got about 100 of these rooms, which means 2 cameras in a room. I've got close to 200.
I think that number is important. 100 of these rooms is why the scale and magnitude of this is
200 cameras.
Which means I have about 200 cameras that are like this. Now, most of these are Vadio cameras. Vadio makes fine cameras, no problems there. Most of these are HD base T cameras.
There it is.
Justin just said HD base T is the best transport ever made. It was the 11th commandment.
No.
I saw it. So these cameras are HD base T cameras. Okay, that's fine, which means they're run to an HD base T receiver. Or
Were they?
They're run directly into the DM inputs on a DMPS. Well, okay, the inputs were there, but that means there's no receiver, which means if I replace that DMPS, there ain't no receiver there, which means now I got to buy a receiver or something. One step worse than that is 2 steps still to go. The DMPS then was doing the switching between cameras, DM1, DM2. Okay, that's great. One of the HDMI outputs was then used as the
Feed a mage well.
The converter. But to your point, it needed to then go to a USB encoder, Inogeny, Magewell, whatever was used at the time, to convert for USB for Zoom, Teams, etc. So I'm using 2 inputs and 1 output on my DMPS, which has to go because of the age of that thing, and it still runs on kerosene. But that means I now need 2 boxes there to convert all this stuff. So the question is, yes, and what I've been doing is I've been bouncing ideas off of people for the last couple of days. There are some little widget boxes out there, and I have one from Atlona and one from Kramer on the way to test out, which in theory can receive both of these camera feeds, can send the commands back upstream to the cameras to drive them, and then can convert that out to HDMI and then go back into the little USB encoder, and I can do that. But is it worth going down that road to have yet another slightly different version of my classrooms to reuse these cameras?
Or you have 200 of them, make it a new standard.
Or I send them to WKU and just install some.
Just got a new standard system. My
I don't know
quick
what I
answer
would
to
do
this
with
is
them.
no.
I don't want HD-based cameras here.
I don't want HD-based cameras either, but I got 200 of them. So
And
they
I
were
don't
free.
know if the value is there. And honestly, if you're hitting that 3-4 year mark, I think you've got your utility out of these investments. It's time to start. I'm not saying they can't last longer. I'm just saying I don't know if you need to.
We run to die.
Kick this
so
can down that road further.
if I was Chris, I would have to buy a widget and just make it work, and it's just a new standard because it would be a budget money thing.
But
for
are
absolutely
the
is.
rooms needing update? Or are you like piecemealing these updates, Chris?
No, so the rooms that, like I said, when they got cameras and mics, the underlying systems were untouched.
Right.
With
You went in with the COVID layer. Just painted
Yes.
It is
So
what it
the
is.
stuff that was 4 or 5 years old 3 or 4 years ago is still, or is now, I got to do the math on that, is now what, 7 or 8 years old. So it's got to go. The cameras are still presumably serviceable. Now, to your point, they're 3 years old, coming up on 4 years old. So are they reaching end of life for the camera? That's early for a camera. It should be fine, but to Justin's point, if I had 10 rooms like this, it'd be different. I have 100 rooms like this.
You know what?
So-
Honestly, if the infrastructure worked out, what I would probably do to keep my standard design essentially the same infrastructure wise, instead of using SDI on my cameras, I would probably use the HDMI out and get the cheapest HDMI transmitter and just run that into a MAJ well and hit USB. If that's what you're trying to do.
But so instead of buying
I mean,
just
I
HD,
could
instead of
do
just buying
that,
an
but-
HD decode,
Instead
I
of
mean,
buying
it's
a new
effectively the same
camera,
thing.
instead of buying a new camera with your upgrade, leave the camera there. Forget HD base T.
Do you? Let me ask this question, Chris. Do you think those cameras are going to last a full cycle? Are you going to get
that's
another
another
refresh
question.
cycle out of those cameras?
They're not going to. So no, that's a good point. Those cameras will not last, in my opinion, another 8 years.
There
So
you go.
I don't think they're going to be.
So to me, they're going. You're getting rid of them.
So let me ask this question: If
don't
you
have the
guys had a
budget for
bunch
them, you don't have
of,
the budget.
if
Yeah,
you
you
guys
do.
had a bunch of
There's
10
budget for
plus,
them.
let's say 10 to 12-year-old cameras, what's our comfortability on those still being fully operational?
10, 12 years? Mm-hmm. No way.
Yeah, which is what they're going to be at the end of the second
I
cycle.
mean, I have cameras that are still functioning at that, but I'm not. I don't want.
I don't like
go
it.
down that road as like a hope and a prayer because that's. Because the fear is you're going to have to go back and invest time you don't have to upgrade these things anyway, right?
At
So you're
some
going to
point,
be out
yes.
that cost. You're going in the room to do this upgrade now. Do it now.
I was going to save you labor to take all that shit out, to be honest, down the road. Total cost of ownership.
That's what
At
I'm
some
saying.
point, so whether I replace them now or replace them down the road, I'm going to have to do it at some point. Yes, you're
Right.
not wrong there. So
But how much pressure does that create on the other things that you have backlogged you have to get to? If you have to now carve out more time to go back and redo this, does that have more of an impact on your operations versus just you already have these rooms scheduled for their upgrades? You're in there, do the work. Yes, you're losing 3 years of potential use on these cameras, give or take, but that time and that energy and like all that, that's the hardest part.
What's
I'd love
more
all that stuff.
valuable?
Getting
So
access to
the
rooms
backup
becomes
plan
the
is to
hard part.
repurpose those cameras elsewhere in systems that don't have cameras now. So they're going to have to
But
purchase
using HD base T,
or using HDMI or something. But
HDMI would be the better answer. Even though
but
I
you're
don't
not going to
like
get
that.
control over that. You're going to
You
have
have
to run.
two Cat 6. Yeah.
You
So-
could use Ethernet over HDMI.
Oh yeah, let me just embed that. I'll do it all over
That's
CEC
everywhere,
commands. It
yeah.
works great. So I'm going to do all the cameras over IR, and then we're going to
There you
solve that
go.
problem. So now Larry suggested replacing half. So keep half as spares because that extends the lifespan. So I will replace one camera in each room, and then the other one will be brand new. So
That's not complicated.
yes, no. So that's the way I'm
Actually,
leaning
it's
now.
not
Is
a bad approach.
replace
I don't know
one
about the
camera, or do you mean the half and
50%?
half?
Like half and
Now
half
you're
versus
having to commit twice as much time to this.
You just remove the student.
do half the
facing one.
rooms, not half the cameras. Do half the rooms.
Right. Do half the camera.
So that you don't have to
Obviously.
visit every damn room. Like, what's more valuable, time or money? And then once you decide that,
well, I get paid
then-
in time, so yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't get paychecks that way. So that's your pay units in Wyoming. You got to figure out what's more valuable to you as a university. Is it time or is it money?
We
You
have
know,
similar
5 to 10
question.
years out, and then figure it out.
So we had that similar investment strategy, right? We put the kit in there, we put the COVID layer on, and things moving along, and we did rooms that we knew were going to come up in this investment cycle, right? We have to kind of figure that out, and we're having to answer the same question where it's like, we're going to probably move to replace them. They're getting them in the proposals. It's all there. Yes, there's use, but I would rather retain those ones that are good and I know they're not HD-based teeth. I can use those as spare and to enable spaces elsewhere. I would probably not repurpose any of these cameras you have. I would probably put them out the pasture.
eBay.
So right now what I'm leaning towards is when we do rooms, we do everything soup to nuts, and you do the room as a new room. So it is a new space. We replace everything you need to. Now, yes, if the screen is good and the ceiling speakers are fine, whatever. So, by the way, please, what the heck was that noise?
I guess
Justin
hold
is
on,
printing
the
everything.
Printing. He's got
The
a
wife's
print.
printing more stuff. I'm going to
Go
mute
get
my
that.
mic.
Read it live.
Yep.
I think it's her passport renewal. Hold on.
Read that. It's important.
Then read it, all of it.
All right,
Social security number, bank accounts.
But that still leaves me with this giant deployment of cameras that I could potentially use in oddball scenarios around campus. I just don't know if I trust doing that in a space that would be new if they don't have a camera, to say, well, here's a camera, and in 3 years when it craps out, they're like, we just got this camera. What the hell? So
What was the rough on those cameras when they were new? Give or take. Correct first
Probably
number,
a couple
correct
grand.
zero.
the cost? I don't have
a couple
the numbers in
grand
front
a
of me.
pop.
Yeah, they're going to be like
yeah.
grand.
They're pricey.
To
Those
me,
the
body
the camera
those
I'm
HD
replacing with
ones
that
are
is a
expensive.
third of the price it was when it first went
That-
in.
yeah, that's
You
my
have
point.
reduced the cost of that space.
The camera
overall.
I'm buying now is $812 or something.
Exactly.
So to me, you're justified. You're
No, he's justified over there.
justification.
That way.
Yeah.
That's justified.
Yeah. I don't know. That's the time and aggravation and having to coordinate to go back to that is the bigger risk in my opinion.
Well, and it is setting us up for potential future support issues when that thing down the road when that dies. So,
Well, not if you don't work there anymore.
I see. So I'm going to get fired long before that. So.
Then it's not a problem.
Yeah, fix that problem. Not the way I quit.
Right after he buys 200 new cameras.
Exactly.
Good luck.
My
I
la-
understand
my
there's
last
infrastructure. You're going to have to address that infrastructure issue as well. Maybe.
That's the other issue. Is they have a single cable pulled to it, which I understand from that concept of single cable. It's
It's already handled.
yeah.
You got your single cable. It's already a Category 6 cable.
You're going all streaming on
you're
this, Jimmy?
assuming that those cameras or those cables are pulled and terminated correctly.
Okay.
Let me just use this
I am.
phrase: zip tied to plumbing or to
they're-
sprinkler pipes.
They're future-proof. You can't get those out of there in the future.
So
You're
they
gonna be
were
no
not.
structural.
They were
You're
not
going to be
inspected.
deploying cameras the Jamie way of single cable. You're done.
Just run that NDI layer straight to the computer. It's fine.
Amen, brother.
Here we
Happening.
go. Here we go.
Anyway, so just an added wrinkle on this as we wrap up our show. The added wrinkle is these same rooms, these 100 rooms that got microphones as well. So they all have a full-on, full-rack DSP with a semi-proprietary
Two
but
mics.
possible open standard transport for their digital microphones all over the place. So, yes, I have.
You're going to grow into it one day, Chris.
Let's just
One
say
day
I
you're gonna
have
need
now
that.
between 500 and 600 dingley dangle golf ball microphones all over campus, which again work fine for now. But how long do we expect those to work? So they're going to be out of cycle.
They are. How do
They
you?
don't.
And everybody out there is dealing with this out of cycle thing right now. So more pain and suffering for all of you.
We are always out of cycle, so it's normal.
Just
So
continuously out of cycle.
You know, that should be a topic.
Wait, what?
So you bought this crap in 2020. It's 5 years later, 4.5 years later.
How's it working out? for
How's it going?
that worked out great for us.
All your Zoom rooms.
you? All your little
No,
dock cameras on a
the
stick.
dock
wherever you
cam,
did?
the
Oh, the dock
stupid
cams
ass
on a stick?
$100 dock cams that we put everywhere, and then what happened is people that actually needed good quality, hybrid or whatever teaching models, they asked for upgrades, and then the ones that didn't need the dock cams, we never had to go back and
They asked for upgrades and realized they just need to get their LMS right.
yeah.
Love it.
All right. Well, there we go. I think that was a definitive answer to maybe
rid of
do
them.
something.
Get rid of them.
I
Turn them
like
into
Larry's,
compost,
Larry's
Chris.
answer of get rid of one of every two in the rooms and just
Yep.
move
Compost.
forward that way.
Technology compost.
That
I
would
don't
be
think it's compost.
Everything is compost.
Here's the next question:
Some
what do you
things
do
just
when you take
longer than others.
ceiling speakers out of a large venue and I have 200 little?
why do you do that?
Because they're 20 years old and
You just put the new ones next
Do
to
they
them.
still make sound?
Yeah.
not good sound. Have you heard like your phone turned up really loud? It's basically that. So
I listen to my phone like this all the time.
no, these speakers will be great for you. I'll send them all to you. All right.
sure
Well,
they'll
we'll be
use
back
them.
next week with more nonsense. See you then. Thanks, everyone.
Well, we've managed to ruin yet another episode of AV SuperFriends Off the Rails. You can contact us with questions, topic ideas, or general complaints at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com. If you complain loud enough, we might just invite you on the show.
Nice work, everyone. Sharp broadcast. Really good. Everyone on the floor as well. Really a lot of hustle. I liked it.
The opinions expressed by the AV SuperFriends are solely those of the individuals and not represent their respective institutions, organizations, companies, or clients.